Mystic, where we discuss real metaphysical and occult knowledge so that you can manifest real and tangible results in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about shadow work, and very specifically, shadow work concerning Dragon Magic, because this is a question I get a lot, and I do want to talk about it because apparently, and I don't know where it comes from, there is some misunderstandings here, and I want to make sure we get those cleared up. We are doing this live, so if you are joining us live, be sure to drop any questions you have in the chat. And once we get done with the main section, I will take community questions on shadow work. And after that, we'll get into questions on other things if we have time. If you're watching this replay on YouTube or Rumble, it will not have the Q&A attached to it, but you are welcome to join the community so you can take part in the live discussions and get to see the topics earlier. Like the topics are usually 5-6 weeks out, and my phone is not shutting up for some reason. Everyone I know who knows I'm doing something seems to have decided to just start messaging me. So we are just going to shut this off entirely, since they really choose the pissest poor time to message me. Ain't that something? But like I said, if you are in the community, drop your questions and we'll get into that. Okay. And I think I said it while the phone was doing its thing, but links to join the community for free will be below. Okay. All right. Now, shadow work. What is that? Let's start with that in case you're new. Shadow work is the process of examining yourself and looking at all the things that you are lying to yourself about, denying yourself, hiding from yourself, all those things. This usually deals with fears. This deals with traumas, things that have happened to you in your life that you've never really dealt with. You just kind of buried it and moved on. And that can add up very, very quickly, right? It also deals with aspects of yourself that aren't trauma related. It can actually deal with aspects of yourself that are very much a part of you, and you need to actually identify those, look at those, know what they are, accept those, and learn to master and control them. You see this in people who have natural anger issues, right? There's no trauma that gave them an anger issue. There's no, anything like that. I mean, anger issues can come from those things, but there are a lot of people who they're just angry people, right? I would actually fall into that category. I'm one of those people that I really used to have bad anger issues for no freaking reason. And the longer you deny it, the longer you try to make excuses, the longer you just try to paint it over it, it's going to be a problem, right? For me, I had to look at it. I had to examine it. I had to begin working on myself. I had to admit that is the person I was. If you don't admit who you are, you can't begin to become the person you want to be. Now, after all these years, there's people who's known me since I was very little, and they can't believe how calm I am now. However, I also remind them that it's not because I just took my anger and got rid of it. It's still there. It's entirely still there. I just have control of it now. I'm in control, not it. That is a very, very important thing. And there are a few people who've been on the unfortunate side of doing things that I do believe it's very worthy of opening that box. But it's under my control. I no longer lash out unintentionally, right? It's under my control. Those are all parts of shadow work, dealing with trauma, parents' divorce, injuries, car accidents, very, very dark, tragic events that, well, YouTube probably won't let me say. Those things also can develop and sink down into there, and you want to ignore it, but if you're doing shadow work, it will get dug up, right? And shadow work's never done. I want to make that clear right here, early on. It is never done, because you're living in a world where crap's still going to happen. You're still going to have doubts. You're still going to have fears. You're going to make mistakes. All those things are just going to pile back in. In a lot of ways, I like to think of shadow work like a garbage can, right? And unfortunately, before any of us ever check the garbage can, we already have a dump. Forget the garbage can. We have a whole landfill built up. And we could probably spend a lifetime sorting through the landfill. But as we go through every day, we're filling that trash can. And even if you live alone, like we all know, trash piles up quickly, right? And you have to deal with it regularly. So not only do you have to deal with the past crap, you also got to continue to work with the present crap. And that is why shadow work is so important. Now, if you want a very, very beginner friendly version of shadow work, go to the videos on this channel, tap in shadow work. I have a video on beginner friendly shadow work because it can get intense and it can get difficult. And some of the more advanced techniques aren't very beginner friendly because they're going to hit you hard and fast. And if you overdo it, you could do more damage than help. So I would consider checking that out. Now, to the misunderstanding that a lot of people seem to be emailing with me, because they email me and like, I was told I'm not doing my shadow work, and since I'm not doing my shadow work, I'm messing up. And I told them I don't have to do shadow work because I practice Dragon Magic. I don't know where that came from, but like I have a lot of people that are saying this. I have never heard this. Like I have heard some out there things in different circles about working with dragons, whether it's Dragon Wicca, Dragon Temple Magic, or whether it's Dragon Magic or any of the other flavors of dragon, anything. I have never heard this statement ever. And yet over the last year, I've been getting this email in one variety or another. It's kind of crazy. And I have no idea where that came from. In fact, not only do I have no idea where it came from, I would even make the argument for the Dragon Magician, shadow work is far exponentially more important than not. Right? I really would. And like I've emailed a few of these people back and forth, and the logic they're giving me is that since Dragon Magic focuses on the balance, and since the rituals deal with the balance, and some of them even specifically said the Dragon's Flame ritual deals in balance, then that's obviously balancing me out. That's already dealt with my shadow. I'm balanced. No, that's not how that ritual works. It is not how that ritual works. So any ritual, I don't care what it is, cannot just snap its fingers and your shadow work is done. It can't snap its fingers and your problem go away, right? When I started magic, I had a good 21 years plus of problems that had piled up and been made up the bulk of my shadow. I still ain't sorted through that 21 years. And I've got 20 plus, well, actually more than 21 years on top of that now. So yeah, it's an ongoing process. There is no snap of the fingers and it's done. It's a continual process. And here's the thing, the shadow actually works as a counterweight. Okay. So think about it. If you don't have any issues, you would be at a balanced state. Every issue you have counterweights you, right? Now, the Dragon's Flame ritual allows you to balance yourself temporarily during that ritual state and balance out your ether and your body's energy and ether interchangeably there, to bring you to a balanced frame of mind. That frame of mind, the etherical balance, only lasts for maybe 8 to 10 hours, depending on the focus of the ritual, something like that. And for some people, it's far, far shorter. Okay. And in that comment, somebody's like, well, see, it just balanced out my shadow. You could say that. However, here's the thing. For every bit of pressure any ritual has to do to push down to counterbalance the baggage you're bringing in, you lose power in that ritual. You lose power because all the energy, all the power of the ritual that's being raised is not going to the manifestation, is not going to the work. It's going to balancing out you and your baggage. It's really that simple. And no, the dragons are not just going to constantly crank more energy in because you refuse to deal with your shit. In fact, that's kind of the opposite of the everything dragons do teach, because dragons teach self-mastery, self-empowerment, self-accountability, dealing with your issues, facing them head on, overcoming them. So they're not just going to hand you a free pass so you can ignore it. If anything, they're going to start withholding so that you actually are kind of forced to deal with it. And this is something I've seen in my life and dozens of my students' lives, where once they start getting a handle on things, once the dragons actually think they're ready for dragon or shadow work, which, newsflash, it'll be before the end of 101, they're going to start pulling back purposely. They're going to make sure the Dragon's Flame ritual doesn't bring you to a perfect balance. It's going to go about 5 degrees off kilter. You know, just 1 to 5 degrees off kilter. It won't be that perfect balance. And that's because they want you to work on an issue over here. And if you work on that issue, if you actually get that issue handled, if you truly accept it, if you truly heal it, then the energy, the ether that they're putting into the ritual rebalances. They're going to force you by holding back to work into that shadow, right? This is why every person who practices dragon magic should be doing shadow work on the regular. Now, does this mean you should face your traumas every day unendingly? No, that's not healthy. You're going to need a rest. You're going to need a break. And even the dragons freaking know that. But it also means you can't be running from them 24/7, right? I personally, I do very dedicated shadow workings at least twice a month. And that's only like 2 days a month, right? I do 2 days a month where I try to do standard maintenance shadow working for Drake. And these aren't short workings. These are long workings that I try to do. However, at that same note, twice a year, I do like a full month deep dive shadow work where I am doing shadow work at least 5 times a week, if not 7. I try to get 7. Sometimes I fall short, but I do try to do that. And I do that twice a year because that's not only maintenance, that is also digging into the reserves, the backlog, the crap in my life that I ain't dealt with, right? I do that. Now, if something pops up, like, I don't know, I'm going through my day and I'm like, you know what? That's a thing. I do that. Why do I do that? I don't wait for those special reserve times. I'm going to go find out. That night, when I go to meditate, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to meditate on that very question. And I'm going to be taking notes. And I'm going to be looking into it. I'm going to be examining it. I'm going to be figuring out why this issue's there. And my big rule, anytime these issues come up, no matter what, I don't place the blame on anyone else. I don't care if other people have habits or processes that lead me to an action. The fact is, I'm the one choosing the action. Understanding why I'm choosing the action, fine. That's fine. Yes, these people done this. This is why I chose this action. This action's also a problem to me. Now it's entirely on me to find the solution and be okay with the solution. And I don't put that off. And I get all those notes. Now, does that mean this one night I'm suddenly going to, ta-da, I'm enlightened, I figured it out? No, rarely does that ever work. It's usually a multi-process thing. However, since the day I had the question, I approached it, I meditated on it, I did a mild shadow working, and actually, if you checked out that video, basically that video is what I do when I have the question, but I journaled on it. I now have notes. Those notes go into a specific folder, which, guess what? That's where those focused shadow workings come. I have the notes. Now I have something to build on, some real meat. And I don't remove those notes until it's dealt with. And then when I get to the major workings twice a year, those notes are, if they're still there, they're still there. That is my process. Is it the process that's right for you? I don't know. You're going to have to figure out your process. But it is important to be working on ourselves. Like if we look at the 28 laws of magic, I keep saying this, but I am not surprised that the law of knowledge and law of self-knowledge are at the tippy top of that thing. Those are kind of the cornerstones of a good life and magic in general, right? Even the Stoics understood that concept. So yeah, it's a really important thing, and more so for Dragon Magic, because again, the dragons will withhold if you're not addressing your stuff. The dragons, we kind of have a contract with the dragons, right? They're going to teach us, they're going to help us, they're going to build us up, but we have to do the work. We have to put in the time. We have to put in the effort. And if we're going to hold back, if we're not going to do something, then they are fully welcome to hold back too. And that is exactly what's happening here. So if you want to maximize your practice, maximize your output, maximize your manifestations, you need to make sure you're doing your work, you're doing your homework, you're bettering yourself. Oftentimes, the most important thing a mage can do is not sit down in a ritual, not do spell work, not sit there and read the new topic on whatever occult forum, but to sit down and look inward at themselves and do work on themselves, to do regular maintenance on themselves. And that is one of the biggest, absolute biggest things that you can do. So if you are practicing Dragon Magic, I would highly recommend you do some research into shadow work. Now for this topic, yeah, this is a short topic. We ain't got a lot of time to deep dive into shadow work, and I do apologize for that. But I will, in the live community, I'm going to be doing a shadow work workshop. We're actually going to, it might even be a multi-month workshop. So if you're not in the community, consider joining us. And I am going to see if I can put out more videos on shadow work, diving deeper. That would be, we'll say, YouTube appropriate. It can be hard sometimes to pin a good structured video on shadow work and not get flagged by YouTube. So I'm going to try that, okay? The good thing about the community workshops, no YouTube. So I don't have to worry about the structure there. I hope this helps a little bit in understanding why it's important, why we can't just ignore it, and why the Dragon's Flame ritual in any of its variations are not a replacement for shadow work. They are not a replacement. Now, when I do my meditations, when I do working specifically focused on shadow work, I love to open with the Dragon's Flame ritual because I love to have the dragon's energy there. I love to be centered. I love to be focused when I'm working on it, right? But the ritual itself ain't fixing the problem. The only one who can fix it, the only one who can fix it, the only one who will fix it in the entire multiverse is you, yourself, and that's it. It's all on you, 100%, all on your shoulders. You're the only one that can fix it. That sucks. I know. It sucks to hear it. Well, unless you're Gen X, and then you're like, yeah, I do that. Right? We just grew up knowing the world hated us. But for generations after, they tend to have a hard time hearing that. Some of them, not all of them. If you're one that has a hard time hearing it, I'm sorry, but that is also the truth. But in my opinion, that's also the most empowering and beautiful part of it, because that means you don't need a guru. That don't mean you need to pay money and all this other crap that people try to shovel to claim to do the work for you, and then the problems never get resolved. Instead, it's something you can absolutely do for yourself for free. It actually just takes a little contemplation on the self, a little self-examination, right? If you don't want to deep dive into shadow work, just think about it this way. Self-examination of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your flaws. Be honest. What are your fears? What are your traumas? Be honest and work through them so that they don't hold power over you, right? I once had a teacher said, if something triggers you, that's shadow work you need to do. Your goal is to be untriggerable. That was an interesting statement, and that was years and years ago before we heard the word trigger daily. Like, that was before the whole trigger warning crap. But that statement, I would say, holds today, if not even truer today than ever, because if someone can upset you just by talking to you, or you see something and it upsets you, you're not in control. And every time you're not in control, you've given your power away. So people, be honest with yourself. Take time for that self-examination. Really look at yourself and be happy with yourself and take your power back and resolve those issues with some contemplation and shadow work, okay? And if you don't know how to do self-contemplation, go check out the shadow work video. It's a very simple distilling the shadow technique, uses journaling. Very, very effective. You can actually get through all your shadow work with that technique if you want. For future techniques, consider joining the community. Like I said, links are below. We're going to be doing a workshop. We're going to be going through some other techniques using different methodologies, depending on your skill and practice. But we will also be posting the replays so that when your skill and practice reaches those other categories, you could still use them if you wish. All right. Everybody, this has been a lot of fun. Well, sort of. It's been a heavy topic, but I do enjoy sharing with you. Let's put it that way. Till next time, everybody, take care. I'm going to go answer some questions for the community. Bye-bye.